For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in on your favorite podcast app. How's it going today? I got some energy. We're going to talk 30 minutes of time-wasting fun. That's what I always say about this podcast. Now, speaking of wasting time, I did that not too long ago with my colleague Suzanne. She's one of the producers of our radio content, our podcast here. We did a road trip. So you want the ultimate time waster is just, we don't know where we're going. We're just going. We're just going. That's what we did. So I'm going to tell you that story coming up in just a little bit. And I don't know. I'm over the top. You'd think that I just had sugar or cocaine or something, but it's a natural high. Just being with you is a natural high, everybody. So tell you about the road trip and how we surprised a family and just showed up at their place. Don't know who they are. Don't know, but we could have got shot. We could have gone... It could have gone bad. Tell you what happened in just a moment. And also to how friendships are really tested during Corona lockdowns. And so talking about going out into the country and doing a road trip, I reconnected recently with some friends that I grew up with 20 some years ago, and it's like no time had passed. Do you have friends that are like that, where you could go? I mean, sometimes you just go a week or two without talking. We're talking almost literally 20 years gone by since talking with these people and spending time with them. I'll tell you about that coming up in just a little bit. And also, on the subject of people, do you have a stupid spelling of your name? There's some names where it's traditional to spell it, let's say David, D-A-V-I-D, right? Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, right? Then I look at some of these spellings and I go, did the parents do this, or are the kids, the people, just trying to, have a different name or something? That gets me really fired up. See, I started out with a lot of positive energy and happiness, and now I'm... So, on that note, let's end this chat, and we'll get into the conversations right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. I love a good road trip. I do. I love getting on a plane more and going somewhere far away. There's just something about doing the whole packing, going to the airport, getting felt up at security, throwing out the half bottle of water that you just can't finish in time, all that stuff, the joys of airline travel. And so Suzanne, our producer, who actually I'm going to text her, see if she's available. I don't think that she is, but I'd love to get her on the phone for this segment. We were just kind of bored one afternoon. And this is how our work goes, right? This is how things go around the office. And we were sitting there talking, and I said, well, what should we do? And she loves driving places. I don't know. She's forever driving. I said she should be an Uber driver. And she's like, let's just go somewhere. And I said, well, like where though? Like it was kind of one of those things where we just wanted to be lazy. Like I would be cool if we just watched a bunch of YouTube videos or something. It doesn't need to be a major plan, right? We can just hang out and do nothing. Again, that's the beauty of our jobs. And so she said, let's go for a drive somewhere. And I said, okay, fine, whatever. And we start driving south of the city, and we ended up getting, I would say we were probably I don't even know. I think we were about an hour and a half south of the city. We were very close to the U.S. border. We're in Manitoba. And now I'm in the newspaper in that area. I've been a newspaper columnist for 18 years in one of the papers there. And so I kind of thought, well, this is coincidental because I'm in this paper. I don't ever really get to the neighborhood. I don't get over there very often. So how funny is that? Like, and then I said, why don't we just... It's like rural, very, very rural. I mean, the roads were gravel. There were no street lights. There was just... You wouldn't want to be there at night if you didn't know where you were going. Thankfully, we had GPS, and it was still daytime, daylight. So we didn't have any issues there. But I said, let's just randomly go to somebody's place. Let's look for people who are outside, and, we see that they're out there, and then let's just stop them. Now, again, you're talking about a house maybe every 5 minutes. Like, you're certainly not passing residential neighborhoods, right? And so sure enough, we see a bunch, there's people outside. Looks like it's a family. There's some kids. They had dogs out there. There were ducks in like a little penned area. They had, big farm. And so I thought, okay, now this could go either way, right? You could either have them all of a sudden drawing their shotguns because you've got intruders and people who are coming at them, or they could be very welcoming, right? Maybe they think that we're lost and we just need some help. And so I said, well, this is a toss-up. Thankfully, I'm in the newspaper. Like I said, I could say, hey, I'm Jeremy Bradley. You know me from the Journal. I'm in the paper. And so they saw us coming up, and, it's not like we were just all of a sudden doing fishtails and burning rubber on their property. And so we just get out of the car. We didn't roll down the windows and start to talk. Then we just got out of the car. And I think we look fairly, we're not threatening people. We're very approachable. And so we come out and we're just like, hi, and the woman says, can I help you with something? I said, we were just out for a drive. It was just such a nice day that we drove all the way from the city. And do you need some help? Are you like, no, we're just just here. We're just, is it cool if we just wanted to say hi? If that's no. And I said, I'm in the newspaper here. I don't know if you read it or whatever. And they said that they did know who I was, but I'm not quite sure that they really did. I think they were just being nice, right? That's just a slap in the face. One of those, do you know who I am sort of moments, and they didn't, and I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. But I just said, I'm a columnist in the Journal. We just happened to, we were just out here coincidentally, so we just wanted to say hi and see. And like I said, it could go either way, right? They could just go and say, we're kind of having a family day, or, get off our property. And they were very welcoming. They didn't invite us for dinner or anything, right? We didn't stay that long. And so I could, I was playing with the dogs, and, Suzanne's talking to the kids, and yeah, we just sort of made these new friends. Mariana is the only name that I remember. And so I could tell that Suzanne was kind of like, not quite sure when we should leave. Like, how are they going to just ask us to leave? Should we just excuse ourselves and go? And so I sat out of the corner of my mouth a couple times. I was like, should we go now, or what do we want to do? Because, so-and-so's in the middle of a story. We don't just want to, get up and leave. And I could tell that Suzanne was trying to wrap us up, where a couple times she was like, well, or she would say, so... And then I would start talking again, just because I just wanted to F with her, right? I just wanted to piss her off a little bit. I'm a good person like that, I am. And so it was really funny because, here we are just, meeting these people, and it was quite funny. And so they said, oh, did you guys need some, directions on like how to get back? And we're like, no, we're fine. We were not lost. We legitimately were not lost. We just, And so then we go, we were driving, and we were only there for like 20 minutes. Or, it's not like we spent, the entire day. So we get back in the car, and then we go into town. We go into one of the towns here. And it was funny because like I said, I've been in that newspaper for the longest time. And it's one of those things where you've heard of the place, but you've never really gone there. So you don't really know much about it. And now it was coming on to early evening at this point. And it was just weird because we're driving through the town. And then I happened to notice, I was like, hey, there's a Subway, Subway restaurant, sandwiches. Like, hey, they got a Subway. And then we went to the gas station, and they had like a slush machine, and then they had an ice cream machine and a sundae fountain or whatever. And it was just, I was having like a shit fit going like, oh my God, there's a Subway. I kind of want Subway now. And she's like, we're from the city. Do you know there's like a Subway every third block? We're like, why? This is not something special that there's a Subway here. But again, I was just like, there's a slush machine at the gas station. And she's like, you have a 7-Eleven down the street from your house. You can get a Slurpee anytime you want. But there's just something different when it's a road trip and you're in a different town. Have you ever had this? If you've traveled, right, and then you're just shocked that, oh my God, they've got McDonald's here too. Holy crap, they've got this pizza restaurant. Hell, right? Because you just sort of feel like that they don't have these in other places, but that it's just so common that they do. Or am I just stupid? Like I think my mom has done that too, where I've gone and traveled. Like when we did our radio show in Panama before, and my mom was like, she saw that I had posted pictures from KFC, and she's like, they've got KFC in Panama. I was like, they've got KFC everywhere. Come on. And then I don't remember where I was. Oh, and then we were in when I was in Hollywood. We were doing red carpet stuff in Hollywood, and again, my mom saw pictures, and she said there was some sort of a chain store or like a dollar store or whatever it was, and she's like, they have that there too. And I was like, in the Los Angeles area? Well, not in certainly not in Beverly Hills or Malibu. They're not having dollar stores, but what was it? I don't remember what it was. Trader Joe's maybe, and then I was like, yeah, they do have that in other places, but yeah, we just think that they're not going to have our stores or our restaurants in other cities, but they do. Tell me your thoughts about that. Live at jbonair.com. Would you have pulled your gun out if Suzanne and I just happened to pull up in your driveway and we show up at your place? But there's just something so, I don't know. There's just something so peaceful about rural living, right? I mean, I know, like my parents out at the lake. I mean, people just walk up. You just welcome people. You're not. You're very unassuming out there. You don't expect that people are going to be. Very quickly, we have to go for a break, but I got to tell you one more story. The same kind of a thing. We were taping travel programming in Nova Scotia, rural Nova Scotia. And I've told this story on the show before, but just since we're on the subject. And the tourism board had planned that we were kind of zigzagging all over the province of Nova Scotia. For about 4 days, I think we were there. I was there. And at one point, we were going to be staying at this cottage at the Bay of Fundy, and I didn't know the details. It was just kind of like, okay, this is where we're going next. We're overnighting here. We're gonna haul some lobster traps. We're gonna go clamming. And clammin' is the way they say it. They don't say the G at the end of the word. And I said, cool. We're gonna go lobster trap hauling, clamming. We're gonna do a fish bake, or fish fry, or fish roast, whatever it was. And I said, cool. So the tourism board woman is driving, and we get there. We turn down this gravel road. And then we pull up to this house, and I did not think that we were. I saw that we were staying at a cottage, but we pull up to this house, and here comes this family. The kids are in rubber boots, and it was almost like the Beverly Hillbillies, if you're old enough to know the show. And then they come out and they welcome us. Now they all talk like Sarah Palin, right? So it's like, we're gonna do some trap hauling. We're gonna pick some seaweed. We're gonna do, and as ignorant as I was, and this is where I totally had a change of heart. I really felt like an asshole. I remember thinking in that moment, oh my God, I'm spending 2 days with these people. I was so ignorant. I was such a dick. I did not want to. I did not want to be here. I was just like, who are these people? Like, why am I living with this family all of a sudden? What's going on? Well, they had a cottage right down the hill from their house. They were the owners of the cottage. They rented out to people. I guess you'd say it was like an early Airbnb. We're going back almost 10 years now. And by the end of the trip, by the end of the visit with them, I had a completely, they were the most genuine people. They threw me a 30th birthday party. We were there for my birthday shows. It wasn't my birthday that week. We were pre-taping a few weeks ahead of time. And they had a party for me. And it was almost like tears saying bye to them. They were just so genuinely, they were lovely people. And again, think about that though, right? Like, you're from the city, and then all of a sudden you just go to this family's house and they welcome you in. They don't know you from a hole in the ground. I mean, they're just trusting, I guess, that the tourism board knows you and that you're legit or whatever it is. And they had me in their house, and we had, I don't know how many bottles of wine that night. It was just one of the funniest moments, and it was just such a great time. And then, like I said, we went clamming that night. It was a sunset thing. We were in the Bay of Fundy, and they were just so interested in showing me their way of life, really, is what it was. And like I said, I had a new appreciation for rural living, especially the East Coast people. They're so friendly. They're so nice in Canada. And yeah, I left there feeling very, very ignorant. I did. I mean, and so Wanda, who was the woman who her and her husband, they were just great, charming people. We still have that content online, by the way. So if you did want to check it out, novascotia.jbonair.com. novascotia.jbonair.com. I keep forgetting that the radio shows are over, but we still have all that content online. novascotia.jbonair.com. Now we really do have to go for a break. We'll be back on the Scribble right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. You know, one of the things that I love talking about on this show is relationships. Not mine, but other people's. And so, one of the things that happened during Corona, I know you're sick of it, it's such a thing of the past already, isn't it? Corona. Blech. But it really tested relationships. And I'm not talking about your relationship with your spouse, your partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. I'm talking about just relationships with friends, right? People in your life. And so I had the opportunity to reconnect with a couple people from the lake. You know, when I was a teenager, I was, 15, 16, 17 years old. I had some really good friends about my age. And as we got older, of course, this is before the days of social media, so it wasn't as easy to keep in touch when you get older. But everybody went their own separate ways, right? There was no problem. It's not like we all of a sudden don't like each other anymore. We all just grew up. People started different relationships. They had kids, married, jobs, career, moved away. It happens. And so recently we've reconnected on social media. Now, I haven't seen these people or hung out with them in at least, 20 years almost. Although actually a couple of them came to a book signing of mine maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. But we didn't have a chance to, sit and socialize and drink or whatever. So when Corona started, I reconnected. We did some video chats, a couple of us. And this was when everybody's schedules were just thrown, for a loop. So I think we ended up talking like from midnight to 3 in the morning. Like when people were up ridiculous times of the night. And it was just like no time had passed. It was really cool to reconnect. Now then on the flip side of that, you have other people who probably ended friendships. And I think a lot of that was, why haven't people reached out to me? Like, you always heard that from the experts. If somebody lives alone or if somebody needs help, reach out to make sure that they're okay. It's like same thing when there's a blizzard, right? It's like, check on your neighbors if they're old or whatever. But same thing with Corona. And I think a lot of people sort of felt hurt because, why isn't somebody reaching out to me? Why isn't, somebody checking on me? Now, again, you've got to remember, just like what I was saying with those friends, is that other people have, lives, kids, whatever. There was just a lot going on. So I don't know that it was necessarily a personal snub where people weren't reaching out to others, right? Because in that moment, everybody's in a panic and thinking, oh, I've got to watch out for me. I've got to make sure that my family is safe and what have you. And of course, as time went on, it's not like this just ended, Corona didn't just end after a couple days. Obviously, it dragged out for a while. So I could understand maybe taking a couple days or weeks even to shoot somebody a message and just say, how's it going? But it sounded like a lot of people had friendships tested. And it was sort of a drawing line. Now, I mean, as I've got older, close to 40 now, but as I've been getting older, I guess I just don't put up with people's shit. Like, I don't have tolerance for it. So if, let's say I was in that situation of, living alone and wanting people to check on me, I mean, I guess I would also sort of weigh it out and say, well, did I contact them? Did I reach out to them? Or did they reach out to me? Like, I think I was probably about, I worked at the airport. I was about maybe 21, 22 years old when I had a cell phone. This was when your phone could hold, 50 numbers and then you're maxed out. And I thought I was really popular and cool that I had 50 people in my phone. And so what I would do was I worked at the airport and I would take the bus home, which ended up being about a 45-minute ride. And almost every day when I was leaving work, I would go on my phone and I would just start making phone calls. I would go alphabetically, right? Start with the A's, B's, and I would call and maybe leave a message for somebody or call, because this was before the days of texting. So I would call, leave a voicemail, go to the next person, call, leave a voicemail. I had 45 minutes to kill. I'm a talker. I'm going to talk to somebody. And there were times when I would get through the phone. Not that I would call 50 people, but, there'd be people where, okay, well, it's a late time zone, so I'm not going to call them, or it's this, I had reasons for not calling every single person every time. But certainly, it was an eye-opener for me, because then I realized it's not about the number of people that I had in my phone. It's how many of them are actual friends. How many of them are answering my call? How many of them are calling me back? And that was where I put these limits on my life, and I said, I'm not going to have 200 friends. I'm not going to have, all these contacts that I'm never going to speak to. And then that sort of became the rule of thumb. It's like what they say when you're when you're throwing out clutter and things, right? Have I used this item in the last 6 months? Have I used this in the last year? Does this, add any, benefit to my house, right? And if it doesn't, then you throw it out. I was very much that same way with my phone. My contact list was, if I scroll through, and if it's just a first name and I don't even know who it is, gone, done. And then to me, that's where I put up that wall so I didn't have the hurt feelings anymore. I was very quick to go and say, hey, you know what? This is somebody who doesn't appreciate my time or doesn't even want my attention. So why am I wasting it? Why am I wasting that energy? Why am I wasting that emotion? Why am I putting that emphasis or that energy into them? And nothing, I'm not getting anything back. There's no response. So I'll move on, right? And it kind of hurt me at first, but that was how I found that strength to be like, you know what, then screw you people. I'm a hilarious person. I've got a fun personality. I'm upbeat. I like making people laugh. You don't want that? Well then, okay, I get it. Yeah, sad at first, but then it was almost like this I am woman, hear me roar sort of a moment. And okay then, I'll focus my attention on the people who care and who give a shit about me. So I'd like to know what your thoughts were during, whether it's Corona or even just as you're getting older, right? This whole Facebook friends thing. What is a friend? If I don't know what you do for a living, if I don't know what your last name is, well, then you're not a friend because I don't know anything about you. So send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Did you lose friendships? Did you gain friendships? What happened with your life during Corona? And then, now as you get older, is it easy for you to just accept new people into your life, right? Because I know there's people who always like making friends, whatever. And then there's some people who say, you know what, I got enough friends. I don't need to add anybody into my roster. I'm good. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here on The Scribble. Let's talk names for a second, all right? Now, before I go into my rant, I've got to do this whole full disclosure thing before I start getting letters that I'm homophobic. I'm a homo. So if I'm homophobic, well, we got a problem, all right? I don't like when people change the spelling of their names. For instance, Michael. We all know how to spell Michael. It's not M-Y-K-E-L. It's not... You've seen those names, right? And so I hate that. And so that's where I say, don't gay up the spelling of your name. And I notice that it happens a lot with gay guys. But at the same time, you also know that parents 20, 25 years ago were not naming their kids that. So we can applaud the, individuality or the creativity or whatever we have to do to appease these people's, insecurities or the snowflake season that I call it. But I just like a traditional name that's just regular. Can I use the word normal? You know what I'm saying, right? If your name is Michael, spell the way your parents spelled it. You don't just go and change things because you wanted to be that. That was your name. Deal with it. I don't know. And again, people are going to disagree with me. I know the younger generation is going to tell me to piss off, but whatever. And so I want to know what you think about that. Because again, it just looks weird. I mean, how many different versions... if you watch The Bachelor and Bachelorette, you know that you can spell the name Lindsay how many different ways. Okay, fine. I'll accept that one just because traditionally it is. Is it S-A-Y, S-E-Y? There's different things. But it's the basics, because that was your name. Just deal with it. And I guess you could also flip it the other way and say, well, then why are people having cosmetic surgery, right? If they weren't born with that nose, then why should they have that nose? If they don't have those boobs, why should they have those boobs? Well, you're talking to somebody who's, hasn't had a procedure like that. So I guess I would kind of be maybe the same way. I mean, it's just strange. So speaking of names, though, let's continue on. And I wonder then, now here's where you're going to call me a hypocrite. Some people are going to say I'm a hypocrite. But if you have a name that is traditionally associated with a young child, so for instance, Thomas, Daniel, do you feel that it's appropriate as you get older to maybe not abbreviate your name, but shorten your name? So Thomas becomes Tom, or Tommy becomes Tom. Daniel becomes Dan. I can accept that one, because as you get older, and again, it's just because there's that connotation with the name, right? If one of those names was mine, I absolutely would go and say, you know what, it's not Mikey anymore. It's actually just Mike, or it's not Daniel. I'm just call me Dan. But again, I don't have a name like that, so I don't know. But tell me what you think. Is it okay then, as you get older, to maybe just kind of shorten your name? What do you think? It just seems strange to me, right? Because there are just names, and I wrote a column about this not that long ago, where it was called something, based on your name, people would say you are ... And then there's just those names that we have, right? Where Bertha makes you think of a fat lady. Elsie, like my grandma, makes you think of an old Ukrainian or an old lady, right? Elsie is just, an old name like that. So there's just certain names. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just that's the way we kind of think, because of the way those names have always been associated with people. Now, again, I realize that we're in a day and age where we're supposed to be breaking down those walls and say, well, we shouldn't have those generalizations or stereotypes or, what have you. But, so what do you think about that? Thomas, a 60-year-old Thomas. Call him Tom. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. I just laugh because there's also some times where I kind of put the opinion out there just to poke at people and see, do you agree with this? Maybe it's just a weird thought, but do you agree or disagree? So, live@jbonair.com. Take to heart, though, the fact that I'm not one of those lunatic ranters who just beats their opinion into you, right? That it's, Now, I give my take, and then I say, what do you think? So, I mean, let's have a discussion. Let's have it, right? So you can, and that's where I think that we've lost this nowadays, where if you don't agree with me, you're going to tell me off and call me an asshole, and I'm stupid, and blah, blah, blah. No, I like a good civil debate. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So that's why my website is called Speak Free with JB. When I started that, oh my God, what is it, 18 years ago already, that was the whole concept, was I'm going to put my opinion in a column, and then I want you to comment. Believe it, you're not going to believe this, but this was before the days of the comment section on newspaper websites or on websites. I had a form. It was designed through Microsoft Publisher. My website was designed on Publisher. And I would put the column and then the little feedback form, the comment form, the little thing. And people would submit the form. I would go and manually post, every comment. And that was before, because news wasn't an outlet where you would have opinion. News was just, this is the news, this is the facts, and that's it. It wasn't open to conversation. Now, obviously, it is, thanks to the internet and social media. But yeah, I mean, I love hearing from people, which is why I've, again, been a newspaper columnist for 18 years now, and have a website with, what is it, like 600 or 700 of my columns on it. So, and you can check it out, speakfreewithjb.com. That email address, one more time, is live@jbonair.com. We'll be back right after this.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter @The Scribble Show and @thescribbleshow.com.
No, we're going to get letters after that last segment. And, and it's telling that's how we always end the show, right? Is by me saying, give me a shout, tell me your thoughts on what we've talked about today. And so, of course, we keep the controversial segment, my homophobic, my whatever. Girl, don't make me get my husband after you, okay? I love when people do that, too. I love when I make comments about the gays, and then you just have these people attacking you, calling you homophobic, and it's like, do you know what happens in my bedroom, girl? Do you know? I'm one of you. I am one of you. I'm infinitely better, but I'm one of you, right? So I love that. I love being called out as homophobic. Idiots. All right. So send me an email, live@jbonair.com. Live@jbonair.com is the email address. And even looking at the calendar as well. So not only does time fly in the day, right? I mean, just looking at the calendar. Holy crap. Ugh. All right. Again, so the email address, live@jbonair.com. They told me we got 45 seconds, so now I'm just stalling. But yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts about, reconnecting with friends. I mean, it's so we all hate talking about Corona at this point already, but I think it's just when I went out of town not too long ago, I was able to just have some video chat. I was kind of bored in the hotel one night, and so I was just messaging people on Facebook and just having video chats with people. It was really fun. So maybe we'll video chat. Email me. Maybe we can do that sometime. Live@jbonair.com. All right, I will talk to you same time, same place next week here on The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye for now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,